Thank you very much for honoring us by attending this press conference post our National Executive Committee to inform South Africa about our discussions and the decisions the National Executive Committee have actually taken of the ANC. The African National Congress National Executive Committee convened from the 14th to 16th of October 2023 to deliberate on the progress made in implementing the resolutions of the 55th National Conference, the 2019 Election Manifesto, and priorities outlined in the January 8 statement, which include initiatives aimed at improving the delivery of essential services such as electricity, water, sanitation, transport, and the fight against crime. The NEC reflected on our achievements in the past year and renewed our commitment to address challenges faced by our people, including high living costs and the payment of social grants. The National Executive Committee congratulated our national rugby team, the Springboks' victory against France in the Rugby World Cup 2023, and wished them well ahead of their semi-final match against England on Saturday. The NEC further noted that the National Executive Committee was being convened on the occasion of the centenary birthday of the late Comrade Moses Mabhida. Moses Mabhida was born on the 14th of October 1923. Is not only remembered as a unionist who played a central role in the development of the South African Congress of Trade Unions, but he also was remembered as an iconic leader of both the ANC and the SACP. September 2023 also marked the centenary of the name change from the African Natives National Congress to the African National Congress. We also congratulate the cricket team, the Proteas, as they also continue to do us proud at the World Cup, and by defeating the most important team in the Cricket World Cup in the past weekend. The NEC also received a political overview from the President, covering issues such as the international situation, domestic balance of forces, manifesto review, elections, and the census 2022 results. The tone set by the President informed deliberations aimed at consolidating our interventions to accelerate service delivery, resolve socio-economic bottlenecks, and grow our economy. This was followed by reports on targeted service delivery areas, which informed robust discussions and resolutions by the National Executive Committee meeting. Affirming the irrevocable and irreversible organizational renewal of the ANC, the President welcomed the revitalization of all the leagues, including the Youth League, the Women's League, and the Veterans League, which successfully held their respective national conferences. The President also commended visible strides made to re-energize the ANC's organizational machinery. This is evidenced by well-oiled Chief Albert Luthuli House that is holding the center together and providing leadership to the rest of the organization under the stewardship of the Secretary General. The NEC expressed profound concerns at the escalation of conflict between Palestine and Israel, resulting in the deaths of thousands of innocent civilians in both countries. The National Executive Committee reiterates the long-held position on the peaceful resolution of the conflict between Palestine and Israel by creating two states as a permanent solution premised on the 1967 borders. In its deliberations, the ANC further characterized the inhuman call by Israel for 1 million Palestinians to evacuate and desert their homes as deeply concerning. The affected Palestinians have no safe refuge, effectively becoming trapped and vulnerable, akin to mice in a corner ready for a slaughter. The NEC believes such a call is equivalent to an announcement of genocide, as it is very impractical, particularly noting that among the people to be moved out of these parts of Gaza are patients admitted to hospitals, children, and the elderly. The ANC strongly condemns the genocidal crime that took place yesterday in the Gaza Strip, wherein a hospital was bombed. The ANC further calls on government and the international community to ensure organs like the International Criminal Court and the International Court of Justice act with the required speed to address these crimes against humanity. In this regard, the NEC adopted a comprehensive solidarity program with the people of Palestine to bring about their right to self-determination and push for a genuine resumption of peace talks towards a lasting and just solution. Among the elements of the Solidarity Program include an alliance-led Palestine Solidarity March on Friday, 20th October 2023 to the Israeli Embassy in Tzwan. Engage with and demand that the International Criminal Court investigate and respond to the cases of Israeli crimes against humanity as decided at its December 2022 meetings. South Africa, in our capacity as a member of the United Nations Human Rights Council, must ensure that the matter serves before the Council. We call on the International Court of Justice to accelerate the issuing of its advisory opinion on the conduct of the Israeli state against the Palestinian people. We call for a meeting with the South African Board of Jewish Deputies to engage on the current situation and the position taken by the National Executive Committee of the ANC. We will work with other civil society, trade unions, faith-based, and solidarity organizations towards the formation of a global anti-apartheid movement against Israel. We support the efforts by the government, civil society, and ANC structures to mobilize humanitarian support for the people of Palestine. We call for a special meeting of the African Union Peace and Security Council on the situation in Palestine for an AU peace mission to Palestine. We call on the UN Secretary General and UN agencies to visit Palestine and report to the United Nations General Assembly on the humanitarian situation in Gaza. The ANC will release a briefing note that explains and educates our members and South African society on our position on the Israel-Palestinian situation, and will engage with all sectors of society on our long-standing position. We call on the UN Secretary General to visit Palestine and report to the United Nations General Assembly. Human rights violation must be heard in the International Court of Justice. The ANC reasserts its stance on peaceful resolution of this conflict between Israel and Palestine, whilst expressing our solidarity with Palestine for their liberation from conditions that have been characterized similarly to our own historical experience of oppression under the apartheid regime. We condemn the violence against the innocent by Israel and Hamas on civilians. The ANC believes that only peace can resolve the conflict between Palestine and Israel. Still on the international front, The NEC reflected on the global economic outlook, particularly in the context of which it negatively impacts on the livelihood of the world's people in general and African countries in particular. Whilst the world has emerged from the harshest period of COVID-19 pandemic, its negative impact is compounded by the onset of natural disasters such as earthquakes in some regions, as well as the consequences of climate change. The NEC further reiterated that the Africa Peace Mission to Ukraine and Russia and the convening of the BRICS political parties plus and the BRICS summit have reaffirmed South Africa's global role as a champion of globally shared development underpinned by peace and a human world. The NEC undertook a comprehensive evaluation of its 2019 election manifesto exercise, which is ongoing and characterized by direct engagements with communities and sectors in society. The manifesto review exercise was launched by the ANC President on the 2nd of September 2023 in Dobsonville and was successfully rolled out in all provinces. The NEC noted with humility the massive turnout by our people in all our manifesto rallies. These are ongoing, with the target being 22,500 wards across the country. From the ANC's own research, the review confirms that significant strides have been made on numerous 2019 election manifesto targets amidst the 2019 COVID pandemic and other disasters such as KZN floods. The NEC undertook a robust assessment on the sixth administration implementation of the 2019 election manifesto amidst the unprecedented challenges posed by various factors such as COVID-19 pandemic, the July unrest mainly affecting KwaZulu-Natal and Gauteng, high fuel prices largely attributed to the geopolitical situation such as Russia-Ukraine conflict that has led to rising crude oil prices, and as well as the KZN floods and other climate change related challenges. A straightforward and irrefutable fact emerged from the 2022 census by Stats SA that life in South Africa is considerably better today than in 1994 or 2019. This is despite the challenges that were faced as a country. Through interventions premised on the economic recovery plan, South Africa's economy continues to grow amidst a harsh global economic outlook, which resulted in over 2 million jobs lost due to the COVID-19 pandemic. These jobs have since been recovered. There are further projections that underscore the efforts of the current government administration. The prospects are high that in the next few years, the economic growth trajectory initially envisaged in the NDP Vision 2030 document of over 5% will be achieved. The NEC noted that whilst a lot is being done contributing to the economic recovery, communicating these strides to the masses of our people is essential to dispel the propaganda suggesting that the ANC has done nothing, which flies against the scientific evidence entailed in the Stats SA on the Census 2022 report. The ANC calls on the urgent appointment of the Director General at the GCIS. The NEC is deeply concerned by the ever-increasing living costs and calls on the state to be attentive and find sustainable and credible ways to ease the burden of high living costs to all our people. The NEC also observed that despite the prices of basic food decreasing globally, the South African market did not lower its prices to the prejudice of poor consumers. However, the NEC is encouraged and looks forward to the process earmarked by the Competition Commission, which will methodically dive into the root cause of this market behavior and possibly remedy the situation. On the critical aspect of load shedding, affecting households and businesses to the detriment of economic growth and development, the NEC acknowledged that the appointment of a dedicated Minister of Electricity was beginning to pay dividends. As a result, there is now a precise schedule to increase the energy availability of all power stations per unit on their installed capacity. The result is that load shedding is beginning to ease, and the staggered admittance into the grid of generation units from Kusile Power Station will add over 3,000 megawatts of power to the grid. Regarding electricity distribution with municipalities, the NEC noted with grave concern the scourge of vandalism and theft of transformers in areas such as Soweto and Sidibeng and many other areas in and around Gauteng, resulting in blackouts affecting thousands of households over several years. The introduction of the Electricity Amendment Bill will help further consolidate electricity distribution. The NEC received various interventions from Eskom and the Gauteng provincial government to replace those transformers and re-energize township households and businesses. Let me qualify this point. It's not Eskom directly. It's through the Minister of Public Enterprises, which you reported that false report, that his report was not acceptable. The ANC further called on Eskom and Gauteng provincial government to align their efforts at replacing the stolen and vandalized transformers. A report which we welcomed, that per week the Gauteng government, working with Eskom, as it was reported in our meeting, they now have a capacity to replace more than 14 transformers as per areas affected in and around Gauteng and in different areas in the country. The NEC also called on an accelerated approach to such transformer replacement, whilst calling on the South African Police Service to formulate a program to secure all transformers and other infrastructure facilities at the risk of similar theft and vandalism. The NEC also received a report with regard to the state of SOEs and have scheduled an important discussion to a special meeting to be held before end of November that will focus on matters related to Integrity Commission as well as state of SOEs in relation to their revitalization and as well as their restructuring and integration going forward. So there was never a discussion in detail form about the restructuring of the state-owned assets as it was reported in the media. The National Executive Committee received an extensive account on measures to address water and sanitation delivery across the country. We are encouraged by the positive developments of progress made in as far as water provision is concerned, and can confirm that South Africa is not faced with any imminent crisis insofar as the provision of safe drinking water is concerned. We call on government to use available legal instruments to assist and intervene in municipalities where there are challenges of water and sanitation. The NEC welcomed the program to move freight from roads to rail amidst challenges on Transnet Rail. The NEC further welcomed the progress on Operation Valazonke to close all potholes. The program to transfer provincial roads to Sandra, which has proven efficient in refurbishing and maintaining roads, has equally been welcomed by the NEC. The NEC believes the introduction of technology, nanotechnology on gravel roads will further improve the conditions of rural roads. The NEC welcomes the advances in rolling out trains in various corridors, which will tremendously help reduce the traveling costs of commuters. This includes the installation of safety and logistics measures such as signaling systems. The NEC welcomed the report on the imminent deployment of over 8,000 security personnel to protect passenger rail infrastructure. The NEC further has welcomed the reconfiguration and stabilization of the Transnet board and believes this will help accelerate the rail challenges and the consequent challenges of constrained transportation of bulky goods out of the country, particularly minerals resources such as coal. We as well welcome the appointment of the TNPA board, which will accelerate the corporatization program in the ports as implemented by the Department of Public Enterprises together with the Department of Transport. As you all know now that the TNPA will have its own port, and then it has got its own CO in terms of corporatization in order to open up development and the delivery and the expansion of our ports and harbour areas in the country, so that South Africa can now reclaim their number one status as the best in terms of ports in the African continent. The NEC noted that to ease the constraints at our ports, we need investment beyond the 2 cranes to accelerate delivery and loading of goods and from our ports. On efforts to fight crime and lawlessness, the NEC expressed concern about the ongoing phenomenon of illegal mining zamazamas and directed law enforcement agencies to deal decisively with the scourge. There is a massive program that is implemented by the Department of Safety, particularly the Minister of Police, working with others in the country, called Operation Chanel. You know that a lot of people have been arrested, but we have said that government must do everything in its power, including unleashing the army to deal and to do away with the zamazamas once and for all. And we said that our government must work in collaboration in terms of all other departments, including mechanisms of intervention, of how we can preserve and make the mines that have closed down to be accessible to small-scale business people in order for our people to also benefit out of that. The NEC expressed satisfaction with the bold steps being taken by the security cluster in tackling the phenomenon of zamazamas, including many other violent crimes in our country. Comprehensive social security is fundamental policy of the ANC. Lifting our people out of poverty is the basis on which the ANC is considered the people's movement, Umbutho Wesizwe. In this regard, the NEC noted progress made by both Postbank and SASSA in resolving the technical glitches recently experienced in the disbursement of social grants to some of the deserving beneficiaries. Providing a safety net for the poor and vulnerable is a non-negotiable. We will closely monitor steps taken by government in ensuring that no beneficiary is turned away from the point of service. The NEC received a detailed account on interventions to fix municipalities. Those led by the ANC and hung municipalities where there are coalitions. Our existing coalitions framework was re-endorsed as the basis for our intervention. A dashboard of dysfunctional municipalities and action plans for each of these municipalities was welcomed. Our deployees were urged to report further developments on an ongoing basis. The effective functioning of state-owned enterprises is a cornerstone of a capable developmental state in South Africa. Governance and leadership of SOEs is of concern to the ANC. In this regard, the National Executive Committee took stock of the current state of SOEs, particularly Eskom and Transnet. The NEC has directed its deployees in government to stabilize SOEs as a matter of urgency and to proactively undertake actions that inspire public confidence in the capacity of the state to manage and deliver on the mandate of public entities. Regarding fiscal management, the NEC has received a detailed account on the proposed cost containment measures by National Treasury. The NEC directed that an important balance between prudent fiscal management and fiscal discipline and delivering on public goods and services is very much important. Importantly, the NEC emphasized that what is being undertaken are cost containment measures and not austerity measures. And the President spoke at the closing with regard to the report that we're running out of money and dispelled that. Equally, Treasury have done the same. The NEC commended efforts to strengthen security and tighten our borders through the Border Management Authority launch, which will help secure our borders against illegal immigrants. While South Africa is receptive to all immigrants, irrespective of country of origin, South Africa, like all other countries, cannot continue to disregard illegal immigrants, which is a big challenge that we're facing as a country. Some illegal immigrants have been central to illicit mining, often constituting themselves into highly and dangerously armed gangs that terrorize our communities while stealing our mineral resources with impunity. The NEC received assurances from its deployees in the Peace and Stability Subcommittee that the state has constituted a multidisciplinary task force to combat this illegality. From the perspective of illegal immigration and illegal mining, what has become evident is that technology is crucial in easing the border processing of goods and migrants and combating any acts of illegality, such as the transit of illegal goods. The Department of Home Affairs must accelerate technology deployment on all border management programs. The ANC remains committed to organizational renewal and will continue engaging all veterans, including former presidents of the ANC and the country. The ANC is committed to improving integrity management within its ranks. The work of the Integrity Commission is at the top of the agenda of the ANC. In this regard, the ANC will dedicate a special NEC to focus solely on the work of the Integrity Committee. In the next 2 weeks, a virtual meeting of this nature will be convened to focus mainly on the integrity issues, as well as a briefing on the transformation and integration and restructuring of the state-owned assets, including the interventions that have been reported in our NEC that have been made in terms of maintaining stability at Transnet and all other entities. You will know that we've got a national conference resolution that in our restructuring, some of these entities must be aligned to principal departments that have got to do with the work that they do. Eskom must go to energy, and Transnet, and if SAA was still an entity of state solely, they must go to the Department of Transport. So SOEs and the Department of Public Enterprises, in the long term, as the President said, will diminish, and in our restructuring plans going forward. So the discussion about the SOEs and the discussion about the restructuring of the state going forward, post the election, is a top discussion on the agenda of the National Executive Committee of the ANC. During this process, the NEC was unanimous on the importance of maintaining discipline among our leaders, members, and structures. This discipline is crucial in instilling confidence in the ability for the ANC to lead society. The ANC-NEC dismissed with contempt the negative narrative peddled on matters of deployment, wherein a false dichotomy contrast is created between professionalism and ANC cadres. The ANC assumes a binary outlook on professionalism and cadreship, simultaneously as concurrently relevant in its deployment considerations of leaders in any strategic position. A standard policy applicable across the political spectrum here in South Africa and abroad. It is therefore disingenuous to suggest that by being cadres, such deployees fall short of appropriate deployment. The deployment policy of the ANC and the cadre policy has been distorted, meaning that the ANC imposes on the state its own cadres. Our cadres, professionals, and so on, wherever they are deployed, they compete with everybody. So they don't get preferential treatment. So do not conflate the party and the state, meaning that the ANC runs the state. That will be tantamount to macromanagement of governance and the state, which is what we don't do. But what we are doing is that we encourage ANC cadres with requisite capabilities to compete in the sphere of strategic deployment within government. And it is not always the case that people who compete in these strategic positions within government are ANC people all the time. And it is not the case. As part of the renewal of the organization, the ANC has set a thorough and stringent criteria for selection of candidates to parliament and legislatures. We are pleased to progress to date, wherein 67% of our branches have met the required threshold in nominating candidate. This progress is ongoing. This past Sunday and this weekend was our deadline for holding of general meetings to elect public representatives for National Assembly and provincial legislatures. The active engagement and participation of the ANC in the battle of ideas is critical. It not only underscores the party's commitment to a democratic and inclusive discourse, but also serves as a platform for shaping policies and strategies that are reflective of the needs and aspirations of our people. This participation contributes to a deeper connection with the masses, allowing the ANC to remain responsive to changing dynamics, challenges and opportunities in the ever-changing political climate. Ultimately, it is through the battle of ideas that the ANC can continue to drive meaningful change and contribute to the betterment of South Africa, informed by scientific research and evidence. The ANC aims to participate in the battle of ideas. The O.R. Tambo School of Leadership is a school the ANC that it has established. The ANC's ability to navigate challenges is fundamental in determining the organization's success in its renewal efforts. The O.R. Tambo School of Leadership plays a pivotal role in providing political knowledge and understanding to its members. We have strengthened our political education efforts by appointing David Makura as the head of political education. The NEC have endorsed Makura as the head of and the principal of the O.R. Tambo Political School, a decision that the board led by Kgalema Motlanthe will be expected to implement. The January 8th statement will be delivered in Mpumalanga in terms of the state of readiness for 2024 elections. Next year, January 8th, will be held and delivered in Mpumalanga. Following that, the Maihlome rally of the ANC will be scheduled to be held at KZN's Moses Mabhida Stadium. And the Siyanqoba rally of the ANC will take place in Gauteng at FNB Stadium in the dates that will be announced after the January 8th statement in Bombela, in Mpumalanga, next year, January. We have also endorsed and appointed the RTT in Ekurhuleni with full REC powers. The RTT in Ekurhuleni is led as a convener by Dr. Kakaza, and the coordinator is Comrade Jongi Dlabati as the coordinator of the RTT with full REC powers. The NEC reaffirmed its commitment to the continued unity of the alliance. The Revolutionary Alliance is the bedrock on which we can achieve a national democratic society. To this end, several alliance-led activities are underway, including the planned Alliance Summit, support for the SACP Red October campaign, and various activities, COSATU and SACCO revival, wherein the ANC has played a pivotal role. As the ANC will continue to engage, organize labor, and the alliance on the steps that must be taken to move the country forward regarding economic growth, employment creation, and improving the working conditions of all workers. In this vein, the NEC has considered the need to reassess our stance on the Municipality Amendment Bill, barring workers from contesting a political office. We are encouraged by the continued support the liberation movement has received, particularly from the working class organized formations of our country. In conclusion, the National Executive Meeting closed by discussing and reasserting our commitment to accelerated service delivery on electricity, ending load shedding, water provision, sanitation, combating crime, and road infrastructure, reorienting all SOEs to be developmental and report to be submitted to the NEC in this regard. We also emphasized the efficient payment of social grants as the important thing that government must do. A service delivery unit at HQ will oversee the service delivery on the ground. All our meetings going forward, as it has been the case since our election into the National Executive Committee and the new NEC, since from last year, of which by November this year, we will be 1 year in office. Our focus will focus not on November, December. This year will be 1 year in office. Our focus has been on service delivery and changing the lives of the people for the better. And our focus as a National Executive Committee in driving government to focus on this task is beginning to yield the results. Focus on the economy, focus on meeting the basic needs of our people, which led to the reversal of load shedding. And of course, our time frames we spoke about was December, but we're encouraged even before we reach that December that there is positive feedback we're getting. Not just talk, but practically, from what we see on a daily basis. We are fighting load shedding, not for elections, but for our economy and for the sake of our country. And that is what we have said. The ANC National Executive Meeting ended with a reminder that unity of purpose among our members and leaders is crucial in achieving good service delivery and in implementing the ANC election program. A strong organization is key to achieving this. The ANC's membership system will move from barcodes to biometrics. During the NEC meeting, there was a comprehensive and transparent evaluation of the advancements made in executing the ANC's election manifesto and the resolutions established at the national conference. The NEC has committed to continue strengthening efforts in enhancing the delivery of services to our people as the term of the sixth government administration nears its conclusion, and with the upcoming national general elections nearing closure. This reflects the party's dedication to ensuring that the promises made to the people are upheld and that governance remains effective throughout this democratic period of transition. The ANC mourns with heavy hearts comrades who have passed on since the last meeting of the National Executive Committee on the 7th to the 8th July 2023. We honor these dedicated cadres who devoted themselves to the organization, even to their final breaths. Their contributions, dedication, and commitment to our cause will forever be remembered. We honor the memory of Auntie Sally Kiboni Upe Sinna Nombulelo Tyawa Tebuo Mahlatsi Misere Mugo Dikago Pule Temba Wilson Stima Thabo Mabasa Farouk Mier Kali Hanekom Mfanelo Ndlela Thembi Moko Mapungu Mkhize Jik Kholeni Vuisi Leskei Ami Thornton Zef Makhetla Important Mkhize Matsidiso Sikhale Paul Lekhwape Regina Pelinomi Julian Bahula Aziz Pahat Zolega Mandela Andrew Ragavalo and Lydia Komapeng Ngwenya. We extend our deepest and most sincere condolences to their families and loved ones as we share in their grief. We stand in solidarity with those who are mourning the loss of their loved ones, as we know that losing a loved one is never easy. We would also like to express our condolences to Comrade Violet Siwela on losing her husband. Comrade Violet Siwela is a member of our National Executive Committee. We remember Comrade Jesse Duarte, who will have celebrated the 70th birthday on September 19, 2023. This is the first time we have celebrated a birthday since her passing on July 17, 2022. We honor her memory and the invaluable contribution she gave relentlessly to the African National Congress. Thank you.